When you were shooting the infamous argument scene in the park, it was so realistic that someone reported a domestic dispute. How did you feel when you heard that? We did our job correctly that day. Hi, I'm Paul Anthony Kelly, and this is Take 10 with Deadline.
I think the world thought that we went through something together, that what happened in Dallas happened to all of us.
You once told me that you had no choice but to go on after what happened, that anybody would. But you're wrong. You did have a choice.
We grew up in people's living rooms. They feel like they know us, that we're a part of their family. Which is why whenever we do anything unseemly or at odds with their perception of us, they lash out with an even greater fervor. Because in their minds, we don't exist without them. Public's always holding a flower in one hand and a stone in the other. Don't forget that.
You were ready to move back to Canada after 13 years pursuing acting. Talk to us about the moment you heard you'd be playing JFK Jr. in Love Story. The moment I found out I was playing JFK Jr. in Love Story was the day of the screen test after the chemistry read, and they told me I had the job on the spot, and I kind of disassociated from the world at that moment because I had finally landed a big one, and then I had to do the work. But it was incredible. When did you first realize you look like JFK Jr.? I was a model previously in my career, and I worked with Brooks Brothers quite a bit, and they always told me I look like a young JFK Jr. Got me to where I am today. I heard you listen to JFK Jr.'s narration of his book every day before shooting. How did his voice help you, and what else did you do to understand who he was? Listening to him narrate his father's book, Profiles in Courage, I listened to that every day, before, during, after work, in the shower, in the gym, whatever, sleeping sometimes in the car too, working set. It was an immense help just to get into his cadence and rhythm. He is more of a middle of the tongue speaker. I'm Canadian, so we kind of pronounce everything pretty well. But in his case, he was very lackadaisical, had a New York, East Coast upbringing. I had to really do a lot of vocal exercises and dialect coaching to drop into that cool guy, devil may care, lackadaisical speak. Luckily, he was a very well-documented individual, so I watched everything I could. His interviews, the Larry King interview was a really great asset. He's just cool, he's relaxed, he takes it all in stride. In my research of him, I found that he just really wanted to be a regular guy, and I am a regular guy, so it was pretty easy to lean into that aspect and just try and find the humanity in who he was, and go from there. Tell us about building trust and chemistry with Sarah Pidgeon, who plays Carolyn Bissett. Oh my gosh, Sarah Pidgeon. I cannot speak highly enough of this woman. She is awesome. From the moment we met at the chemistry read, there was just chemistry. We didn't really have to build on the base blocks there because it was just an absolute understanding of like, I've got you. I know you've got me. Let's do this. After the chemistry read, I found out that we were staying at the same hotel, so I ended up giving her a ride back. And that private moment in the car after this public display was very great to build on our chemistry of what would become John and Carolyn's character outside in the world and inside. And the focus on the show was kind of what happens behind closed doors with them and their budding love story. So that was really sedimentary to our chemistry. What was the biggest lesson you learned from making this show? Preparedness is key. Just take it easy, take it in stride, one day at a time. Don't sweat the small stuff. You said the hair took a while to get John perfect. What was the secret to getting it right? Oh, water, a blow dryer, and a good brush every day, several times a day. I also had to shave like 2 or 3 times a day, which never in my life have I had to do that. That was fun. How comfortable were you on the rollerblades? I have 2 left feet. You know, I'm like the only Canadian that can't skate. one of my pitfalls. So rollerblading was interesting. There's not much of it in the show, but I have done it a la John. JFK Jr. was a style icon. If you could keep one item of his wardrobe from the set, what would it be? There are so many things from his plethora of stylish clothes and wares. I've adopted a wallet chain in my life. I tend to set things down and forget them, much like John, as it turned out. I've also started wearing my baseball cap backwards a little bit more. I was never a backwards man until after this show. Probably like the hypercolor shirts would be something I would like to keep because they're just such a rarity and they were so cool. You sweat in it and it changes a different color. Amazing. The producers were looking for someone with old school masculinity type looks, including chest hair. How did it feel to embrace the natural look? You know, after being a model for a long time and having to shave it sometimes, it was always a downfall. I hated it. It gets itchy and then it sucks to grow back. So when they were looking for someone with chest hair and I happened to have some chest hair, it was great. What's the craziest fan interaction you've had so far? You know, I haven't really had any crazy fan interactions. They've all been so overwhelmingly positive. Playing a real person, especially someone so beloved, there is a sense of worry. How will it be received? How will people enjoy it? Will they enjoy it? But I think what we were able to create and tell and envision resonated so well with so many people, and it brought a lot of nostalgia. So the interactions that I have with fans and people in passing or, you know, walking through the airport and they're like, hey, you were great in the show, feels wonderful. And that's pretty much what it's been. What's the weirdest job you've ever had before becoming an actor? You know, I just kind of was a model for a really long time, and that's weird in its own way, just being a figure. But it was good to me. But here we are. Fans have decided you should be the next Bruce Wayne in Batman. Oh. What's your dream role you'd like to play next? I wouldn't say no, but truthfully, I would rather play a villain. They just have more fun. I think it would be a pretty wild ride, especially to play a Batman villain. Those guys are crazy. We just heard some very big news. You're joining American Horror Story. Yep. Any hints about your role at all? How does it feel? Feels pretty good to be joining such a storied series. You know, they're on their 13th season now, and word on the street is they're bringing back a lot of the previous cast. So I am incredibly excited to go to work and play with some people I've been looking up to for a very long time. That's going to be cool and spooky and scary and all the good things that get you. Woo! Thanks for watching, everybody. That was Take 10 with Deadline. I'm Paul Anthony Kelly, and I'll see you out there.